Hi everybody. Today is May 10th, Sunday, and it is Mother's Day. And usually I hate Mother's Day, and it's because I don't have a mother. People who know me intimately know that Mother's Day is just a day that I just wish didn't exist. And not to take away from the accomplishment of being a mother, it's probably one of the hardest jobs any woman can ever have. But for me, ever since I lost my mother, it's just probably one of the hardest days of the year for me. And I try to be kind to myself on this day because it's just devastating. And it's always so hard for me to scroll through Facebook or Instagram and see people writing these beautiful ballads for their mothers or, mother figures in their life. And for me, it's just very painful. I guess I could start from the beginning. My mother passed away when I was 13, a month before my 14th birthday, and I will never ever forget it. She had had a stroke and she was recuperating fairly well. The doctors thought that she was going to be their success story. She was paralyzed on her left side, but we would put a phone, like her cell phone, on her right side because my mother was such a social butterfly. We would put her phone on her right side so she could call her friends, and she would call me and, my grandmother and my aunt. But she was doing really well. In the beginning, it was really rough. She didn't know who I was at all. And that was very difficult for me because my mother treated me like I was God's gift to the planet. Anybody who knew her, they just knew that she worshiped the ground I walked on. I could literally do no wrong in her eyes. She was just so loving. She was so kind. She was just like a light. When she didn't know me anymore, she didn't recognize me, it was very difficult to have that shift in treatment. But after a few weeks, I would say she began to, collect herself, and she remembered who I was, and she started acting like my mother again. And it was just very strange because she was improving so rapidly that we thought she was going to come out of this. We were kind of just figuring out what our next steps were going to be for her. We didn't expect for her to really regain movement. So we were going to put her in a nursing home in the Bronx because I'm originally from New York City. One day, I kept trying to call her on the phone. She had been in the hospital at this point for, I want to say, a few months. And my aunt, she didn't like me living kind of alone in my house. I have a very estranged relationship with my stepfather. So she didn't really like me being alone in my house. So at that point, I was living with my aunt. And I had been trying to reach my mother on the phone, and to no avail. I just said, okay, fine. Maybe she's sleeping. I'll talk to her tomorrow. And that was just the end of it. I never got to speak to her again. I'm getting emotional because I'm just kind of reimagining it all over again. Because I would love to go back to a time where my life was not like this, because I really had no idea what I was, having to prepare for. Nobody can ever teach you how to deal with the loss of a parent, especially one that you were extremely close to. I've never had a relationship with my father, so it would be a very different situation if he had passed. I would be, mournful, but to lose my mother was just devastating. And I was not prepared for it. My mother, she was not prepared for it, obviously, given our circumstances after she passed. And my grandmother, she was inconsolable. Your kids are supposed to bury you. You're not supposed to bury your kids. It just defies the natural order of things. And then for my aunt, my mother was her only sister. That was devastating. She had my mother her whole life. My aunt, she's kind of like my hero. I guess my shiro, I like to call her, but she had to step up to the plate. She never had any children, and now all of a sudden she gets a 13-year-old who she has to be both mother and father to, on top of our, natural relationship as aunt and niece. So, I've always had so much respect for my aunt in the way that she stepped up in my life. I'll never be able to repay her. But getting back into how difficult Mother's Day is for me, on top of it being difficult for me because my mother's no longer here, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it makes it so I'm not able to even congratulate any mothers or say happy Mother's Day to any maternal figures in my life. I cannot stand Mother's Day, and it's so hard for me to say happy Mother's Day to my aunt, who, like I said, has been everything to me. My grandmother, it's hard for me to say happy Mother's Day to her. My mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, any friends that I have that are mothers. I just like to erase this day from my memory. Like today, I said, okay, it's Mother's Day. I'm going to watch documentaries, my favorite fashion documentaries. I love Vogue magazine. My aunt, bought me a subscription to Vogue when I was in high school because she wanted me to have style. And I thought at that time Vogue was like the Bible to me. So I spent today watching documentaries on Andre Leontali and Anna Wintour, and fashion designers that I love and admire so much. And I had 2 cups of coffee with my breakfast, because that's the perfect day for me. And anything to not think about what this day actually means to so many people, because for me, it's just a constant reminder that my mother's not here anymore. And I remember after my mother passed away, every Mother's Day was like just so painful that I would start an argument with my aunt or my grandmother just so they would get disgusted with me and leave me home and go out to dinner and to the movies themselves and leave me home, because I just didn't want any part of it. And I've gotten into constant disagreements with my aunt and my grandmother over Mother's Day. To them, it's kind of like, well, we've been your mother, we've been maternal figures in your life, and it would be nice for you to acknowledge that and to appreciate us. And my rebuttal to that is, I always appreciate you, and I'm always going to give you your flowers every day of the year, except this day. This day, I just can't do it. And I'm asking you to just respect that and just, for lack of a better phrase, just leave it alone. I wish that it wasn't such a disgusting day for me, because like I said, I want to be there for all the great maternal figures in my life, whether they be family, friends, play aunts, cousins, like I said, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my grandmother, my aunt. I want to be there for them and I want to celebrate them. But for the past 13 years, it's just been so painful, and I keep thinking it's going to get easier, and it just never does. Because like I said, nobody can really prepare you for that type of loss. On top of that, I was 13 years old, so I needed my mother. I missed out on really important moments that I know she would have just died for if she was here. You know, she would have loved to get me ready for prom. She would have loved to help me pick out my dress for my wedding when I got married to, you know, my amazing husband. I would have loved to have conversations with her when I first really started liking boys and getting into relationships, or, you know, when Obama got elected as president. She would have loved that. I mean, she literally cried watching the Oscars because she just thought about how, you know, white the Oscars were when, you know, when she was a kid and when she was a teenager and a young adult watching them. And just to see, you know, Black women, Black men receiving awards for their achievements in film, it just would make her so emotional. My mother, she was like a fashion icon. Literally ask any of her friends, anybody who knew her, or if you look at old pictures of her, she literally just had such an eye for fashion and makeup and clothes, on top of just being a very intelligent woman. She had her master's degree, and as a young adult, just would have enhanced my life so much, and I already know it. And my aunt, she, like I said, she really had to rise to the occasion because she had never had any children. It was very much of us like teaching each other. I like to credit my independence to my aunt because she was such like a polarizing figure in my life. She worked so hard. She had her own business. She faced so much adversity. I mean, so much discrimination. She's just such a strong woman, and she's just so intelligent. She's just brilliant. And we very much at that time in our lives, we had to teach each other how to really exist because the dynamic had changed so much. She wasn't just my aunt. Like I said, she was my mother and my father and my aunt. And, you know, now she had to provide for me. She had to be a parent to me. And I really feel like she did a great job. I don't know if I would have been able to do a better job. In my opinion, it was just something that we shouldn't have had to deal with. And my grandmother, my poor grandmother, I love my grandmother more than anything in this world. And at that point in our lives, I kind of saw her just change. And even now, we'll still have those moments. We just kind of like fall apart, but we get ourselves back together. And we remember that, you know, she's not here anymore. And I like to think that she's up there with God and, I don't know, Karl Lagerfeld and, I don't know, Yves Saint Laurent, and like making the coolest clothes and like wearing the coolest stuff and doing the coolest things. And my mom had the voice of an angel, so I'd like to think that maybe she's like singing in God's choir and just having a good time. I feel like I'm going on all of these tangents now, but what I want to say to anybody who's really dealing with the loss of a parent, especially when it's fresh, to just kind of take it day by day and accept the fact that it's just not something you're going to get over. It's just not. Like, I have so many times where something will remind me of her or remind me that she's not here anymore, and I'll just break down. When Prince died, I like grieved like he was a family member, not only because I was a fan of Prince, but my mother was such a huge fan of Prince, and I listened to so much of his music when I was growing up. And losing him kind of felt like losing my mother again. Same thing when Michael Jackson died. I listened to so much Michael Jackson growing up, and my mother loved Michael Jackson's music. His life choice is a little bit questionable. You know, when he passed away, I grieved so much because I felt again that I was losing another memory I had with my mother. The first year was probably the most difficult. And to anybody, like I said, giving advice to you if you've lost a family member recently, the first year is going to be extremely difficult because you'll literally be thinking what you were doing that time last year. And it's kind of like you're going to have to learn everything all over again, like for the first time. Like, okay, it's my first day of school without my mom. It's my first graduation without my mom. It's my first Christmas without my mom. It's like a whole year of just like first all over again. It's difficult because you're just saying like, man, 365 days ago, 365 days ago, this person was here in the flesh, and I took it for granted because, you know, we never know when our time to go is. When that person's no longer here, you kind of just are always questioning, like, what could I have done? What could I have said? I can't believe we argued over that. That was something so trivial, so small. And then you'll have those moments where you wish they were here. Just kind of slap yourself back into reality and just be grateful that you had them at all. And I know that's a little bit harsh, but that's kind of what helped me get through. I do think it's so unfair that I lost my mother so young, but at the same time, I feel grateful and blessed to have had her at all. There are so many people who never even had a relationship with their mother, or unfortunately, maybe their mother died in childbirth, or maybe their mother died when they were even younger. And sometimes I wonder what life would have been like if I had her a few more years. Would it have been worse? Like, if she had died maybe in my 20s, or, you know, after I'd had her and gotten so attached to like coming to her for advice and things like that. I guess to wrap up this video, it's getting a little bit long, but I guess I just want to say Mother's Day is very difficult for me, and I hope that my friends and family can understand that. And I'm sorry for lack of a better phrase, but I'm kind of like a demon on this day because I cannot stand this day, but only because it's so painful to me. And I just ask my friends and family to really just understand what I'm going through and just kind of not take offense to me not being the most outspoken on this day, and just, you know, congratulating and calling everybody and saying Happy Mother's Day, because it's one of those days where I really just want to crawl up in bed and just not even talk to anybody or do anything. So just bear with me. I don't know, people always tell me like, well, you're gonna feel so differently when you're a mom. And I just say, well, I mean, I'm not a mother, so I have no idea what you're talking about. I guess we'll see. That's it, right? We'll see. But yeah, that's the end of my TED Talk. Be kind to yourself. Enjoy the day, and I hope everybody's just taking the time to be together and survive this quarantine. We're slowly but surely working our way towards some level of normalcy. I think it's going to be a very long time before we really get comfortable into doing things that were just so effortless for us. like, you know, going to a bar, going out to eat. Everything's going to change. Our workplace environment's going to change. Our interactions with people are going to change. Several businesses are going to have to change their infrastructure to deal with this situation. And as long as we just remember that we're humans and just take it day by day, that's really all that we can do. So be blessed and stay safe.